guys, Miss Caro here with another virtual art lesson for you guys. It is Monday, so happy Monday. I hope you guys had a great weekend. You know what Mondays mean? It means it is our artist spotlight day. So today we are going to spotlight an artist named Pablo Picasso. Okay, before we get started though, we're going to do some stretching and then we'll go ahead and meet Picasso. Alright, so let's stretch to our left, stretch to our right, stretch up and down, up and down, and one more big one, up and down. Give yourself a big hug, squeeze, take a deep breath in and relax. Way to go, guys. All right, so tune into the next video and let's go ahead and meet Picasso.
Hello, my name is Paul Priestley. Welcome to Artist in School, the home of art history for young people and for interested amateurs. Today I'm going to be telling you 10 really interesting facts about the great artist Pablo Picasso. Fact number 1. He was born in Malaga in Spain in 1881. His father was a man called Don Ruiz, his mother was Maria Picasso. But in Spain, they tend to take the mother's surname, not the father's surname. So he became known as Pablo Picasso, not Pablo Ruiz. Fact number 2. He was a prodigious talent. At the age of 8, he'd sold his first painting. At the age of 9, he had a studio. By the time he's 12, 13, 14 years old, he's producing drawings and paintings like these. These paintings and drawings could go into any gallery in the world and they wouldn't look out of place. And he's just 11, 12 and 13 years old. Fact number 3. Picasso's father was an art teacher and he got a job at the prestigious Barcelona School of Art in 1894. Picasso enrolled at the Barcelona School of Art at the age of 13. Normally you have to be 18 to enter. But he was so talented. But he was only there until he was 16, because at the age of 16 he got bored and he wanted to move on. So he moved to Madrid and he entered the prestigious San Fernando Royal College of Art in Madrid at the age of 16. The entrance exam lasted a month. Picasso did it in a week because he's a genius. Fact number 4. At the age of 18, he left the college in Madrid and he went to Paris with his best friend, Carlo Casagemas. Carlo Casagemas was walking down the street one day when he shot himself, claiming that his girlfriend didn't want to see him anymore. His girlfriend was going out with Picasso 2 weeks later, but that's another story. Shortly after this, Picasso began to paint lots of paintings in blue. He painted people who were disabled, who were blind, who were lonely, who were depressed. Some years later, someone interviewed him and asked him, why did you paint all these pictures in blue? Was it because you were depressed at the death of your friend Casagemas? Picasso said no. He said, was it because you were in Paris all on your own and you were lonely? Picasso said no. So the man said, why did you paint all the paintings in blue? And Picasso thought, and he said simply, it's because I had lots of blue paint. Fact number 5. In 1909-1910, Picasso worked with an artist called Georges Braque, and together they invented a new style of painting called Cubism. Cubism was based on the idea that paintings are painted on a flat surface. And for centuries, artists had tried to make that flat surface look three-dimensional by using perspective. Picasso and Braque went about it in a totally different way. They decided that a sculpture, for example, you can walk all the way around it. It's three-dimensional. You can't walk around a painting. So what they decided to do was to draw an object like a person from lots of different angles, from the back, the front, the sides, and put all of those drawings together to make one image. Hence, this sort of thing. People looked at it, couldn't understand what it was, but if you look carefully, you can see the clues and therefore read the painting. Fact number 6. In 1918, he married a Russian ballerina called Olga Koklova. This is his painting of Olga with his son Pablo. She doesn't look like a ballerina, does she? But that's because you're looking at the painting from your point of view. With Picasso, you've got to be cleverer than that. Look at the painting from Pablo's point of view. If you are a young child, everything revolves around your mother. Your mother is big. She is the whole world. Look at the background of the picture. There's nothing there because the world does not exist to a child of 6 months old. Mother is the world. Then you understand the painting. Fact number 7. In 1936 there was a civil war going on in Spain, and Franco, the leader of the fascist movement, was also a friend of Hitler. Hitler loaned Franco some bombers and they tested them out on a little town called Guernica. At 10 to 3 on one particular afternoon, Guernica was just a normal town of around 6,000 people. By 3 o'clock on that same day, Guernica looked like this, and 3,000 people had died during those 10 minutes. Picasso was appalled at the carnage that had gone on that afternoon, and he painted his most famous picture, Guernica, based on that incident. I'm not going to talk about the whole painting because that will take too long, but just look in the bottom left-hand corner at the hand. Can you see the hand is open, like this? In the original drawings for the painting, the hand is clenched in a fist because the people who were fighting against the fascists would draw fists on buildings as a means of resistance. We're going to resist the fascists. But Picasso realised that you don't end wars by doing this. You end wars by doing that. Shaking hands and talking. Fact number 8. When Picasso was in his 60s, he was walking down the street with a friend one day and he passed a group of 5-year-old children playing. And he turned to his friend and he said, "When I was their age, I could draw and paint like Raphael. It's taken me a lifetime to learn how to draw and paint like they do." He didn't mean that he wanted to literally paint like a 5-year-old. What he meant was he wanted to use their enthusiasm, their lack of inhibition, their ability just to do what they want to do when they want to do it. Fact number 9. In 1959, the painting La Belle Hollandaise by Picasso, painted in 1905, sold at auction for £55,000, the equivalent of £1 million today. At the time, it was the world record price for a painting by a living artist. Fact number 10, 2 quotes. The first one by Picasso. Picasso once said, "I'm always doing the things I can't do because that's how I get to do them." So if you want to be great at something, don't ever give up. Quote number 2 by his mother. She once said to him, "If you wanted to be a soldier, you work so hard, you never give up, you would have ended up being a general. If you'd have wanted to be a monk, you work so hard, you never give up, you would have ended up becoming the Pope. But instead, you chose to be an artist, and you worked so hard, you never gave up, you ended up becoming Pablo Picasso, the greatest artist in the world." Thank you for watching Artist in School. I hope you've enjoyed the video of Picasso. If you have, perhaps you could give it a like. Maybe you could also subscribe to this channel. That would be much appreciated. And if you can tell your friends about the channel, that would be wonderful. Thank you for watching.
Alrighty guys, so now that we've met Picasso, let's dig a little bit deeper and we're going to discuss why I selected Picasso for this week's lesson. So this week's lesson is going to tie in with some other program areas and we're going to be talking about healthcare and healthcare heroes. So Picasso was someone who liked to express himself through his art and the use of his colors. He even went through a blue period, which you heard about in the video. Even though that's up for debate, some people think that his blue period was linked to depression because one of his friends passed away, and others simply say it was because he had an abundance of blue paint and that's just the medium and the color he chose for that time period. So no one really knows exactly why, but a lot of people tend to think that it was directly related to the passing of his friend and his blue mood. Okay, so the reason we're tying that in with healthcare is because mental health is very real and is very much a part of the world that we live in, so it's best to express ourselves as best as we can. And colors have a lot to do with our mood and they affect us daily, even though we don't realize it. We did an activity not too long ago, even on our virtual classes, that had to do with moods and expression through color, and we did one with Miss Angie, the OT that came in March to teach us a lesson on colors and how they affect our moods and emotions. Okay, so throughout this lesson today, we're going to continue talking about moods and colors. Remember from our previous lesson when we talked about the cooler colors, they bring about emotions and moods of peace, calmness, sad, and maybe even in this particular example, depression. All right, and then we have our warmer colors that bring about feelings of happiness and joy and warmth. Okay, so stay tuned for our activity. Alright guys, it is time for our Picasso activity. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what you guys are gonna need for your art piece. Okay, so you're gonna need canvas or a white sheet of paper. You're going to need a pencil. I'm going to be using a Sharpie for this demonstration so you guys are able to see it better on your screen. You're going to need a cup with a paintbrush and some watercolors. I'm going to be using watercolors for mine, but you can use markers, color pencils, crayons, whatever you have on hand at home. So we're gonna go step by step drawing our Picasso inspired face. All right, so the first thing you're gonna do is do a really light line, kind of like a cross. It's gonna come down, up and down, and one side to side. So a vertical line and a horizontal line, so you can divide your piece and you know where everything goes. All right, so our first step, I'm gonna grab my marker, is going to be to draw the basic outline of the face. Okay, so it's gonna be round at the bottom, kind of oval, long, and then at the top, pretty flat. All right, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll continue. All right, so We're gonna continue. I noticed on the first step that I forgot to add the neck, so we're just gonna do 2 diagonal lines coming from where the chin is down. Okay, so our next step is gonna be to add in our nose. All right, so it's gonna come from right here, almost 3/4 of the way up. It's gonna be a slanted line. Okay, then you're gonna make a sharp turn and go down. Okay, so that's gonna be the nose. So go ahead and do that, and I'm gonna move on to our next step, which is gonna be the mouth. Okay, so starting from the bottom part of the nose, we're gonna do 2 little lines and then 1 going down. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we're gonna move to our next one. Okay, so we're gonna start with the left side of the face. We're gonna add on our eye and finish off our lip. Okay, so the eye is gonna be an eyebrow up here at the top. We're gonna do almost like a triangle sideways, but not complete because we're not gonna do this line. And in there, we're gonna do an oval shape and then a smaller one inside, just like that. And then we're gonna complete the lip, and it's gonna kind of look like a sideways heart, just like that. All right, so go ahead and do that, and then we're gonna move on to the right side of our face. Okay, we're gonna do another eyebrow on this side, and then this eye is gonna be different from this one. This one's gonna be actually rounder. Okay, I'm gonna do another one inside, and then a circle in the middle. Okay, and then we're gonna finish off this lip. And finish the crease in the middle. All right, so right now this is what it should look like, and we're gonna start by adding the ears. The ears are not gonna match. Remember, a lot of his work was abstract, okay, and he did a lot of strange things that didn't really match. So we're gonna continue on this side. We're gonna do a rounder ear this side, and on this side we're gonna do a longer one and more oval shaped, and it's gonna be lower, slightly lower than this ear. Okay, so I'm gonna go a little bit lower than this one and do more of an oval shape. Okay, so we are almost complete. The last step that we're gonna take in drawing our portrait is going to be the hair. Right, so we're gonna start about halfway in between the forehead, and we're gonna curve out, and the hair is gonna go all the way down to just about where the chin is, just a little bit higher. Okay, and we're gonna do the same on this side, okay, all the way down. All right, and there you have it. That is your Picasso portrait. You can go ahead and add whatever colors you want to your piece. I'm gonna use my watercolors. I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you guys the finished product. Okay. All right, guys, I am back with my finished product. Okay, so here we have my Picasso inspired portrait. As you can see, I used a lot of blue tones and different shades to fill in my piece. The reason that I chose those colors were to symbolize his blue period. All right, so go ahead and fill in yours with whatever colors you guys like. Have fun with it, take your time, and express how you're feeling today. You can use some bright colors, you can use some cooler colors, whatever you choose, just make it yours and have fun. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that activity. I'm going to leave you guys with a story inspired by Pablo Picasso and Henri Matisse, another artist that we spotlighted a few weeks ago. Enjoy!
When Picasso Met Matisse by Nina Ladin. There once was a young pig named Picasso. While the other piglets rolled in the mud and played games, Picasso painted. He painted anything and everything, and in a most unusual way. At the same time, there once was a young bull named Matisse. Matisse was not like the other bulls. He wasn't interested in bullfighting. Matisse was happy only when he painted pictures. And he painted big, bold, bright pictures. In time, word of Picasso's talent spread throughout the pig provinces. Soon, art-loving pigs from all over lined up to buy his creations. At the same time, Matisse was getting famous in the cattle community. There weren't many households that didn't own a masterpiece. Picasso and Matisse were becoming art superstars. But this came with a price. Everybody wanted to see them. Art buyers, art sellers, art students, art historians, art groupies. It was an art attack. One day, Picasso got fed up and said, "I am tired of this noisy pig pen." At the same time, Matisse declared, "I am sick of this crowded cow town." Needing a change, they both decided to look for a peaceful place where they could paint without distractions. So each of the two artists looked far and wide for the perfect spot. Picasso found a lovely farm looking towards the east. Matisse found a handsome farm facing the west. After Picasso moved in, he went to introduce himself to his new neighbor across the road. At the same time, Matisse went to introduce himself to his new neighbor across the road. That is how Picasso met Matisse. And coincidentally, that is how Matisse met Picasso. At first, Picasso and Matisse were friendly and welcomed each other as neighbors. But soon, things began to change. It started one day when Picasso criticized one of Matisse's paintings. Then Matisse made fun of one of Picasso's. Matisse called Picasso an art hog. Then Picasso called Matisse a mad cow. Matisse quipped, "You paint like a 2-year-old." Picasso retorted, "You paint like a wild beast." Matisse raged, "Your colors look like mud." Picasso spat, "Your paintings look like color by numbers." Then things got really out of hand. It was a modern art mess. Picasso stormed off into his house. "That Matisse doesn't like my art," he huffed. "Well, I'll show him." And Matisse bullied his way into his house. "I'll give that Picasso something he can really criticize," he snorted. Then a full-scale feud erupted, but it was a most unusual battle. Armed with ladders and buckets of paint, Matisse launched the first attack. He started at dawn. By the end of the evening, he had succeeded in transforming the outside of his house into a monster-sized masterpiece. Not to be outdone, Picasso fired up his paintbrushes in full view of the enemy, and he counter-attacked. He turned his farm into a huge and outrageous pork of art. The two artists then retreated into their houses and pulled down the shades. Picasso certainly didn't want to look out his window to stare at a Matisse, and Matisse had no desire to give his rooms a view of a Picasso. This presented a problem, and there seemed to be only one solution. Without a word to each other, Picasso and Matisse each began to build a huge wooden fence down the middle of their road. At first, Picasso and Matisse seemed satisfied. Both artists went back to painting by themselves. But after a while, Picasso was surprised to find that he missed that bull-headed Matisse. At the same time, Matisse found his studio empty without the presence of the pig-headed Picasso. Picasso pondered, "That Matisse isn't such a bad artist. He has some interesting ideas." Matisse moaned, "That Picasso may not paint like me, but he knows what he's doing." However, being naturally pig-headed and bull-headed, neither artist knew how to apologize to the other. So they did what they do best. They let their paintbrushes do the talking. Picasso painted one side of the fence, and Matisse painted the other. Each worked until they were exhausted. It was strangely quiet when they were done. Then, curious to see what Matisse had been doing, Picasso sprinted around to the other side. At the same time, Matisse galloped over to Picasso's side. The silence was broken as the two artists began laughing at their amazing work of art. From that day on, Picasso and Matisse became great friends. They happily took down the fence and shared their different views. A few months later, a big museum bought the fence. Picasso called his side when Picasso met Matisse. Matisse called his side when Matisse met Picasso. The critics called it incredible.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed that story and that you guys are able to recreate a Picasso inspired art piece. Make sure again to tag us on social media, take photos, send us videos. We'd love to see your work and join us on our Zoom meetings to share what you've done. All right, see you next time. I wish you well.